My sister pulled me aside on my wedding day. Her eyes were wide. She was twisting a piece of her bridesmaid dress in her hands. The fabric was getting wrinkled. I was in my own gown. It felt heavy and perfect all at once. The ceremony was supposed to start in 15 minutes. I could hear the low murmur of guests finding their seats just outside the door. Everything was supposed to be perfect. Everything was planned. "What is it, Chloe?" I asked. My voice was calm. I thought maybe she had a makeup emergency, or perhaps a problem with one of the other bridesmaids. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. Her voice was shaking. "I have to tell you something. I can't let you do this without knowing." A knot formed in my stomach. This was not about makeup. This was serious. "What is it?" I repeated. I tried to keep my voice steady. "It's about Liam," she said. She finally looked at me. There were tears in her eyes. "Your husband told me a secret." She corrected herself. "Your almost husband." The world seemed to slow down. The murmur of the guests faded away. All I could hear was the frantic beating of my own heart. A secret. On my wedding day. Told to my sister. My mind raced through 1,000 terrible possibilities. Each one was worse than the last. I felt a cold dread creep over me. This was the moment that would change everything. I knew it. I just did not know how yet. I called off the wedding. I did not do it right away. I did not scream or cry or make a scene. I just looked at my sister. I needed to understand. I needed to know the secret that was big enough to make her risk ruining the most important day of my life. "Tell me," I said. My voice was barely a whisper, but in the small, quiet room, it sounded like a shout. I am 28 years old. My sister Chloe is 30. We have always been close. She has always been my protector, my confidant, the person I turned to when things got hard. So when she looked at me with that much fear in her eyes, I knew I had to listen. I knew whatever she was about to say was the truth. Or at least, her truth. "Liam came to me last night," she began. She was still twisting the fabric of her dress. "He was nervous. He said he needed to tell me something. He said he didn't want it to cause trouble." "Get to the point, Chloe," I urged. My patience was wearing thin. The knot in my stomach was tightening. "He told me he took the money," she said. The words hung in the air between us. They felt heavy and sharp. "What money?" I asked. But I already knew. A sick feeling washed over me. There was only one amount of money that mattered. "The down payment for the house," she confirmed. Her voice was barely audible. "He said he borrowed it. He said he was going to tell you after the honeymoon. He said it was for a really good reason." I stared at her. I could not process the words. Liam and I had saved for 2 years for that down payment. It was our future, our dream home. We had picked it out together. We had talked about which room would be the nursery. We had planned our whole lives within those imaginary walls. And he had taken the money. "Why did he tell you?" I asked. My mind was struggling to connect the pieces. Why would he confess to my sister the night before our wedding? "He wanted me to help him," Chloe said. She looked ashamed. "He said if you found out before he could explain, he needed me to calm you down. He asked me to tell you that he is a good man and that you should trust him." I felt a wave of nausea. He had not just betrayed me. He had tried to recruit my own sister into his lie. He had put her in an impossible position. He had used our bond against us. That was almost worse than the money itself. "Where is he?" I asked. My voice was cold now. The shock was turning into a quiet, icy rage. "He's with his groomsmen," she said. "He's probably waiting for the music to start." I took a deep breath. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was wearing a white dress. I looked like a bride. But I did not feel like one. I felt like a fool. A fool who had been lied to and manipulated. A fool who had almost tied her life to a man who did not respect her. I need to talk to him, I said. I turned to Chloe. Alone. She nodded. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know yet. I lied. But in my heart, a decision was already forming. It was a terrifying decision, but it was also the only one that made sense. I had to face him. I had to hear it from his own mouth. And then, I had to end it. I walked out of the bridal suite. I told the wedding planner that I needed a moment with the groom. She looked confused but did not argue. She led me to the small room where Liam was waiting with his brother, Mark, and his other friends. When I walked in, they all cheered. They were laughing and drinking. They looked happy. Liam's face lit up when he saw me. Wow, he said. You look breathtaking. But isn't it bad luck to see the bride before the ceremony? We need to talk, I said. My voice was flat. It cut through their cheerful noise. The laughter died down. His friends shuffled awkwardly out of the room, leaving us alone. Mark gave me a strange look as he left. It was a look I did not understand at the time. What's wrong, honey? Liam asked. He came toward me, his smile still in place, but his eyes were wary. You look pale. Chloe told me, I said. I watched his face carefully. His smile faltered. Just for a second. Then it was back, wider this time, but it did not reach his eyes. Told you what? He asked. That I think you're the most beautiful woman in the world? She told me you took the money, Liam, I said. I am not yelling. I am keeping my voice perfectly level. It feels important to stay in control. He lets out a short, nervous laugh. Oh, that, he said. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair. Baby, it's a misunderstanding. Your sister is just being dramatic. You know how she gets. Is it a misunderstanding that our house fund is empty? I asked. No, of course not, he said, his tone shifting. He was trying to sound reasonable, paternalistic. I had to borrow it. Something came up, an emergency. I was going to tell you all about it on our honeymoon when we could relax and talk properly. I didn't want to worry you before the wedding. The condescension in his voice was like fuel on a fire. He was treating me like a child, like I could not handle the truth. What kind of emergency costs our entire down payment? I pressed. It was for my brother, Mark, he said. He looked earnest now. He was a good actor. I had to give him that. His business was about to go under. He was going to lose everything. I couldn't let that happen. He's my brother. You understand family, right? He tried to take my hand. I pulled it away. So you gave our future to your brother? I asked. I loaned it to him. He corrected me. He's going to pay it all back. With interest. It was a smart investment, really. I saved his company and we'll end up with more money than we started with. It's a win-win. He was so smooth, so confident in his lies. For a moment, I almost wavered. He made it sound so logical, so noble. But then I remembered what Chloe said. He had not told me. He had planned to keep it a secret. He had tried to use my sister to manage my reaction. This was not a noble act. It was a deep betrayal of trust. Why didn't you tell me, Liam? I asked. Why didn't you talk to me about it first? I told you, he said, his voice laced with frustration. I didn't want to stress you out. With all the wedding planning, you were already so tense. I was protecting you. Protecting me. He was protecting me from my own money, from our shared future. The excuse was so insulting it almost made me laugh. He must have seen the doubt on my face. His demeanor changed again. He became desperate. Look, we can talk about this later, he said, glancing at the door. Everyone is waiting. Our families are out there. We can't do this now. Let's just get married. We'll sort this out. I promise. He reached for me again. This time, I did not just pull away. I took a step back. I don't think we can, I said. His eyes widened in panic. What are you saying? He asked. You can't be serious. You're going to throw all of this away over a simple loan? Over a misunderstanding? This is the moment. He is making it clear. He thinks the money is the only issue. He does not understand that the real issue is the lie, the manipulation, the complete lack of respect. It's not a misunderstanding, I said. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking, but I managed to open my banking app. I had not looked yet. I had been afraid to, but his words gave me the strength I needed. I opened the account where I kept my inheritance from my grandmother. It was separate from our joint savings. It was my safety net. The money my grandmother had left me to ensure I would always be independent. I had told Liam about it, of course, but I had never told him the password. The balance loaded. 0. A perfect, clean, empty 0. The air left my lungs. It was not just the house fund. It was everything. Every last cent I had in the world. He had not just borrowed from our future. He had stolen from my past. I looked up from my phone. I looked at the man I was supposed to marry. And for the first time, I saw him clearly. He was not just a liar. He was a thief. You took it all, I said. The words were quiet, but they landed like a physical blow. Liam's face went white. He had not expected this. He had only confessed to the joint account. He had thought the rest was safe. He thought his secret was still partially hidden. Now that, he stammered, that must be a bank error. There's no way. Was it a bank error that you told Chloe to lie for you? I asked. Was it a bank error that you planned to keep this from me until after we were legally bound together? He had no answer. He just stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The smooth, confident man was gone. In his place was a cornered, desperate stranger. The wedding is off, I said. I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. The decision was made. The weight was lifted. No, he pleaded. He finally moved, grabbing my arm. His grip was tight. You can't do this. Think about our guests. Think about our families, the humiliation. We can fix this. I'll get the money back, I swear. I am not angry anymore. I am just empty. You don't get it, Liam, I said, pulling my arm from his grasp. You can't fix this. You broke my trust. That's not something you can just pay back. I turned and walked to the door. I did not look back. I opened it and stepped out into the hallway, leaving my white dress, my shattered dreams, and the man who had caused it all behind me. The wedding planner was standing there, wringing her hands. There's been a change of plans, I told her. My voice was steady. The wedding is canceled. Her jaw dropped. Before she could ask any questions, I walked past her. I went to find my parents. I had to tell them what happened. The public fallout was about to begin, and I needed my family by my side. The humiliation he was so worried about was the last thing on my mind. All I could think about was the scale of his betrayal and the cold, hard fact that I had just narrowly escaped a lifetime of it. My parents were in the front row, beaming. My mother clutched a lace handkerchief. My father was trying to look stoic, but I could see the pride in his eyes. Seeing them so happy, so oblivious, was like a punch to the gut. I had to shatter their joy. I walked straight to them. I ignored the confused whispers that followed me. The organist, seeing me, faltered for a second before the music petered out into an awkward silence. Every eye in the chapel was on me. Mom, Dad, I said, my voice low. I need to talk to you. In private. Now. My dad stood up immediately. The smile was gone, replaced by a deep frown of concern. What's wrong, sweetheart? He asked. My mother looked from me to the empty space at the altar where Liam was supposed to be. Where is Liam? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. That's what we need to talk about, I said. I led them to the same room where I had confronted Liam. It felt like a lifetime ago. As soon as the door closed, my mother's composure crumbled. What's happened? She cried. Did you two have a fight? It's just wedding day jitters, honey. Every couple goes through it. It's not jitters, Mom, I said. I took a deep breath. I called off the wedding. My father put a steadying hand on my mother's arm. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine for an explanation. Why? He asked simply. Liam stole from me, I said. The words sounded harsh and ugly. He took all of our savings for the house, and he took my inheritance from Grandma. My mother gasped. My father's face hardened. He was a man who valued honesty and hard work above all else. Stealing was an unforgivable sin in his book. Stealing from family was even worse. Are you sure? He asked. His voice was dangerously quiet. I saw my bank account, I told him. It's empty, Chloe told me. Liam confessed to her last night that he borrowed the house money. He didn't mention my inheritance. He was hoping I wouldn't notice that part until after the honeymoon. That son of a... My father bit off the curse. He started pacing the small room. And he confessed to Chloe? Why her? He wanted her to help him cover it up, I explained. He wanted her to manage my reaction. My mother sank into a chair. She looked devastated. But his family, Carol and Bill, they seem like such good people, she whispered. She was talking about Liam's parents. We had spent months getting to know them. We had shared dinners, holidays. It felt like we were already one big family. I don't know if they knew, I said, but I doubt it. Liam said he gave the money to his brother, Mark. Just then, the door burst open. It was Carol, Liam's mother. Her face was a mask of fury. Liam and his father, Bill, stood behind her. Liam would not look at me. What is the meaning of this? Carol demanded. Her voice was shrill. Our guests are sitting out there, confused, and Liam tells me you've called everything off? You're humiliating my son. You're humiliating our entire family. She did not ask if I was okay. She did not ask what was wrong. She went straight to the attack. In that moment, I got a glimpse of the family dynamic that had created a man like Liam. It was all about appearances. My father stepped forward. He stood between me and Carol. You should be asking your son what the meaning of this is, he said, his voice cold as steel. You should be asking him where my daughter's money is. Carol scoffed. Oh, please, Liam told us all about that. It was a loan, a temporary business loan to his own brother. He was going to pay it back. For that, she throws away a marriage? For a little bit of money? She makes it sound so trivial. A little bit of money. It was my entire life's savings. My future. It wasn't a little bit of money, I said, finding my voice. And it wasn't just a loan. He lied to me. He stole from me. And he did it behind my back. He was trying to protect you. Carol shot back. Men handle finances. He was taking care of a family problem. You should be grateful he has such a strong sense of loyalty to his brother. I am stunned into silence. This is their version of the story. Liam is the hero. I am the ungrateful, hysterical woman who does not understand how the world works. I could see the narrative they were already building. The one they would tell all their friends and family. The runaway bride who overreacted. Get out, my father said. His voice was low and menacing. Bill, Liam's father, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. Now, let's all just calm down, he said in a placating tone. This is clearly a misunderstanding that's been blown out of proportion. I'm sure if we all just sit down and talk this through. There is nothing to talk through, my dad interrupted. Your son is a thief and a liar, and you, he said, pointing a finger at Carol, are defending him. I want you and your family out of this church now. Carol's face turned a mottled shade of red. You have no right, she sputtered. We paid for half of this wedding. Consider it a fee for the lesson you've taught us, my father retorted. Now get out before I have you removed. Liam finally looked at me. His eyes were pleading. Please, he mouthed silently. I just shook my head. I felt nothing for him anymore. Just a vast empty space where my love used to be. Carol let out an indignant huff. She grabbed Liam's arm. Fine, she snapped. We'll go, but you'll regret this. You'll never find a man as good as my Liam, and we'll be telling everyone the truth. That you're an unstable, cold-hearted girl who broke my son's heart over nothing. She stormed out, dragging Liam and Bill with her. The door slammed shut behind them, leaving a ringing silence. My mother started to cry softly. My father wrapped an arm around her. I just stood there, in my beautiful, useless dress. The fight was over for now. But I knew it was just the beginning. Carol's threat echoed in my mind. They were going to destroy my reputation. They were going to paint me as the villain. And they still had my money. I needed a plan. The shock was wearing off, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. They thought I was just going to roll over and accept this. They thought I would be too ashamed, too heartbroken to fight back. They were wrong. Dad, I said, turning to him, I need a lawyer. A good one. He looked at me, a flicker of pride in his eyes. You'll have the best one, he promised. The next few days were a blur of logistics and tears. My parents were amazing. My dad handled the vendors, explaining the situation with a quiet dignity that left no room for gossip. My mom fielded calls from relatives, creating a protective barrier around me. Chloe stayed with me, sleeping on my couch. She was my shadow, my rock. We sat in my now empty apartment. The boxes we had packed for the move to our new house were a painful reminder of the future that had been stolen. We spent hours on the phone, canceling honeymoon reservations, joint credit cards, everything that tied me to Liam. Each call was like snipping a thread, slowly untangling myself from the web he had woven. The smear campaign started almost immediately, just as Carol had promised. My mother heard from her friend, who had heard from a cousin of a guest, that I had a complete breakdown at the altar. That I had screamed at Liam and thrown my ring at him. The story grew more elaborate with each telling. Another version had me running off with one of the groomsmen. It was absurd, but people love drama. And a runaway bride is prime material. Don't listen to it, Chloe said, scrolling through her phone with a grim expression. It's just noise. But people are believing it, I said. My voice was hoarse. I had received a few texts from friends asking for my side of the story, but many people just went silent. They had already chosen a side, and it was not mine. Then we have to give them a reason not to, she said. We have to find proof, something undeniable. I have my bank statements, I said. That's proof he took the money. But that doesn't prove he lied, she pointed out. He'll just stick to his story about it being a loan for Mark. He'll say you agreed to it and then change your mind. It becomes a he said, she said situation, and his mother will back him up. She was right. Liam's family would close ranks. They would present a united front of plausible deniability. I needed more than just a missing sum of money. I needed to prove his intent to deceive me. His email, I said suddenly. The thought had been nagging at me. We shared a laptop. He was always careless about logging out. Chloe's eyes lit up. Do you know his password? I think so, I said. He used the same one for everything. His dog's name and the year he was born. It felt like a lifetime ago when he had told me that, laughing about how unoriginal he was. We found the old laptop in one of the packing boxes. My hands trembled as I opened it. I felt a surge of guilt. Snooping through someone's private email felt wrong. But then I remembered the empty bank account. I remembered the look on Carol's face. The guilt vanished, replaced by determination. He had crossed every line. Now, so would I. I typed in the password. It worked. I was in. My heart was pounding. What am I looking for? I whispered. Search for Mark's name, Chloe suggested. Or Carol's, or just the word money. I started with Mark. A long list of emails appeared. Most of them were mundane. Jokes, links to articles. plans to watch a game. I started scrolling back, further and further into the past. My eyes scanned subject lines, looking for anything that stood out. And then I saw it. An email from 3 months ago. The subject line was "The Plan." My blood ran cold. I clicked on it. It was an email from Liam to his brother, Mark. "Mark," it read, "I've been thinking more about your financial situation. I think I have a solution, but it needs to be handled carefully. I can get you the money you need, the full amount, but we can't tell her about it. Not yet." My breath hitched. Her. He did not even use my name. I was an obstacle, a problem to be managed. I kept reading. "She's got that inheritance just sitting there. She never touches it. Once we're married, it'll be easier. Everything merges. But for now, we need a good story. I'm thinking I'll borrow from our joint account first. The house fund. I'll frame it as an emergency loan to you. She'll be upset, but she'll get over it. She loves me. She'll forgive me." Chloe was reading over my shoulder. She let out a soft, angry hiss. The email continued. "The bigger chunk, from her personal account, I'll have to move closer to the wedding. I'll say it was a banking mix-up. By the time she figures it all out, we'll be on our honeymoon. She's not going to divorce me after a week. Once we're back, you, me, and Mom need to present a united front. We'll convince her it was a smart investment. We'll shower her with affection. She'll calm down. She always does." I felt sick. It was all there. A premeditated plot. It was not a last-minute decision to save his brother. It was a calculated, cold-blooded scheme to steal my money. And his mother was in on it. Mom needs to present a united front. Carol's angry, defensive performance in the church was not a surprise reaction. It was part of the script. "That's it," Chloe whispered. "That's the proof. He planned it all." "There's more," I said. My voice was shaking with rage. I clicked on another email in the same thread. This one was from Mark to Liam. "Are you sure this will work?" Mark had written. "She's not stupid. What if she finds out and leaves you before the wedding?" Liam's reply was chilling. "She won't. She's too invested. The wedding is paid for. The announcements are out. She's a people pleaser. She would never cause that kind of scene. The social pressure is too high. And I've got Chloe as a backup." I gasped. "What does he mean, a backup?" I asked, turning to my sister. Chloe's face was pale. She looked away. I don't know," she stammered, but I could tell she was lying. There was something she was not telling me. The secret she had told me on my wedding day was not the whole story. There was another layer to this betrayal, and my own sister was at the center of it. "Chloe," I said. My voice was sharp. "What did he mean? What did he say to you that night?" She wrung her hands, the same nervous gesture from the wedding day. He was just trying to get me on his side," she said vaguely. "How?" I pressed. "What did he offer you?" She hesitated. The silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken words. I looked at her, my sister, the one person I thought I could trust completely. And for the first time, I felt a flicker of doubt. "Chloe, you have to tell me everything," I said. "If you are holding anything back, you are no better than they are. You are helping them." The words were cruel, but I was desperate. I felt like I was drowning in lies, and she was holding the only life raft. Tears welled up in her eyes. "I didn't want to tell you," she sobbed. "I was so ashamed. And scared." "Tell me," I insisted. She took a shaky breath. "He didn't just ask me to calm you down," she confessed. "He offered me money. He said once he had control of all your finances, he would give me a cut. A finder's fee," he called it, "for my help in smoothing things over." The room spun. My own sister. He had tried to bribe my own sister with my own money. It was a level of depravity I could not comprehend. "What did you say?" I whispered. I was almost afraid to hear the answer. I told him no. Of course I told him no, she said, her voice rising with indignation. I was horrified. I told him he was insane. I told him you would never fall for it. He just laughed. He said I was being naive. He said I would come around once I saw how much money was involved. I stared at her, my mind reeling. This changed everything. It was not just an email. It was an attempted conspiracy. And there was a witness. Why didn't you tell me this before? I asked. My voice was flat. The hurt was so deep it was beyond anger. I was scared, she admitted, her tears flowing freely now. He was so confident. He made it sound like it was already a done deal. And I was ashamed that he even thought he could buy me. That he saw me as someone who could be bought. I didn't want you to look at me and wonder if I had considered it, even for a second. I understood her shame. I understood her fear. But the withholding of that crucial piece of information felt like a small betrayal in itself. It was a lie of omission. Did he say anything else? I asked. I needed the whole truth now. No more secrets. She nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. He said he recorded our conversation. My head snapped up. He what? He was on the phone with Mark when I walked in, she explained. He hung up, but I don't think he really did. I think he kept the line open. Or maybe he used an app on his phone. He told me he was recording me to protect himself. He said if I tried to warn you, he would edit the recording to make it sound like I agreed to his plan. He said he would show it to you and claim I was the one who came up with the idea to take your money. He said you would believe him over me because you were so in love with him. I felt a surge of pure, unadulterated hatred for Liam. He was not just a thief and a liar. He was a monster. He had planned for every contingency. He had built traps within traps. He had tried to turn me against my own sister. He had used her love for me as a weapon against her. But in his arrogance, he had made a fatal mistake. He had told her about the recording. He had intended it as a threat to keep her silent. But he had just handed us the ultimate weapon. He threatened you, I said slowly, the pieces of a new plan clicking into place in my mind. He tried to blackmail you into silence. Chloe nodded miserably. I didn't know what to do, she said. I knew I had to warn you, but I was so afraid he would use that recording against me, that you would hate me. I would never hate you, I said. And I meant it. Her fear, her shame, it all made sense now. She had been trapped, just as I had been. A cold, clear purpose settled over me. Liam and his family thought they had won. They thought they had my money and my reputation in ruins. They thought I was a heartbroken mess, crying into my pillow. They had no idea what was coming. He thinks he's in control, I said, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. He thinks he has all the power. Chloe looked at me, her tears slowing. What are you thinking? She asked. I'm thinking that recordings work both ways, I said. He wanted to record you to protect himself. What if you had been recording him? Chloe's eyes widened as she understood. But I wasn't, she said. He doesn't know that, I replied. He's arrogant. He's overconfident. He believes he's the smartest person in the room. We're going to use that against him. We are going to get that recording. And we are going to use it to burn his entire world to the ground. The first step was to get a lawyer. My father, true to his word, connected me with the best litigation attorney in the city, a woman named Ms. Albright. She was sharp, no nonsense, and she listened to my story without a flicker of surprise or judgment. I sat in her plush office, Chloe by my side, and I laid out everything. The missing money, the emails, the attempted blackmail of my sister. Ms. Albright steepled her fingers. This is quite a conspiracy, she said, her voice calm and measured. The emails are good. They establish premeditation, but his threat about the recording is the linchpin. It shows a consciousness of guilt and a willingness to engage in witness tampering. So what do we do? I asked. I was ready for a fight. I wanted to file a lawsuit. I wanted to go to the police. "We do nothing," she said. "Not yet." I stared at her, confused. "What do you mean, nothing? They have my money." "And they think they have all the power," she replied. "Right now, they are comfortable. They believe you are isolated and emotional. They believe their story that you are the unstable one. We let them believe that. We let them get cocky." "For how long?" Chloe asked. "As long as it takes," Ms. Albright said. "Mr. Hayes," she said, using Liam's last name, which sent a jolt through me, "made a critical error. He told you, Chloe, about the recording. He intended it as a threat, but he also revealed his hand. He admitted to creating evidence. We need that recording. Without it, his threat is just hearsay." "But he'll never give it to us," I said. "He'll destroy it." "Not if he thinks it protects him," Ms. Albright countered. "Right now, that recording is his insurance policy. He thinks it's a weapon he can use against Chloe if she cooperates with you. He won't destroy it. He'll hide it." Her strategy was starting to make sense. It was a waiting game, a psychological game. "So we wait for him to make a mistake?" I asked. "We create an environment where he is forced to make a mistake," she corrected. "We are going to send a letter, a simple formal request. Not from me, from you. You will request a meeting with Liam and his parents to discuss the equitable distribution of wedding assets and gifts. You will be calm. You will be reasonable. You will sound like someone who has accepted defeat and just wants to move on." "Why?" I asked. "Because it will disarm them," she explained. "They are expecting a fight, a lawsuit. When you offer a quiet, private settlement, they will be relieved. They will see it as a victory. They will come to that meeting feeling superior and in control. And that is when we will set our trap." The plan was brilliant. It was also terrifying. It meant I had to face them again. I had to pretend to be broken. I had to sit in a room with the people who had systematically tried to ruin me and act like I just wanted to be done with it all. "I can do it," I said, my voice firm. "Chloe, your role is just as important," Ms. Albright continued. "You will not be at the meeting. Liam needs to believe his threat against you worked. He needs to believe you are scared into silence and are no longer a factor. He needs to believe you and your sister are on the outs. It will make him feel secure." Chloe nodded. "I understand. I stay away." "For now," Ms. Albright said with a thin smile. "Your moment will come." That night, I drafted the email. I wrote and rewrote it a dozen times. I wanted the tone to be perfect. Not angry, not sad, just tired, resigned. "Liam," I wrote, "I think it is time for us to resolve the outstanding issues between our families. I would like to propose a meeting with you and your parents to discuss the financial matters related to the wedding. I hope we can handle this privately and amicably to avoid any further pain for everyone involved. Please let me know when you would be available." I hit send before I could lose my nerve. The reply came less than an hour later. It was from Carol. "We agree that a meeting is in order," she wrote. Her tone was condescending and formal. "Liam is, of course, devastated by your actions, but he agrees that a swift and private resolution is for the best. We are available to meet at our home this Saturday at 2 p.m. We trust you will come alone and prepared to be reasonable." Our home. They wanted the meeting on their turf. They wanted every advantage. "Perfect," Ms. Albright said when I forwarded her the email. "They are walking right into it. Now we prepare." The next few days were the longest of my life. I felt like an actor rehearsing for the role of a lifetime. Ms. Albright coached me. We went over what I would say, how I would say it. "You will not mention the inheritance," she instructed. "You will only talk about the joint house fund. You will accept his story that it was a loan to Mark. You will simply state that since the wedding is off, you want your half of that joint fund returned." "But that's not what I want," I argued. "I want all of my money back. The inheritance is the biggest part." "Patience," she said. This is step one. By focusing only on the joint fund, you reinforce their belief that you don't know the full extent of the theft. You make them think their bigger secret is safe. They will be so relieved that they might actually agree to return the smaller amount just to make you go away. And if they do? I asked. Then they have admitted by action that the money was yours to begin with, she explained. It undermines their whole "it was a family investment" story. But they won't just give it to you. They will try to negotiate. They will try to make you feel like they are doing you a favor. And that's when you pivot. How? You will say that you are willing to be flexible on the amount, Ms. Albright instructed. But only if Liam does something for you. A gesture of goodwill. What gesture? I asked, my heart starting to pound. You will ask for the recording, she said. You will tell him that you know he recorded Chloe. You will say that you are worried she might try to cause trouble for him down the line. You will frame it as you protecting him. You will say that if he gives you the recording to destroy, you will accept a smaller settlement and sign a non-disclosure agreement. You will make it seem like the recording is a liability for him that you are willing to help him get rid of. It was a masterful piece of reverse psychology. I was not demanding the recording as evidence against him. I was offering to take it off his hands as a favor to him. It was a move he would never see coming. He'll be suspicious, I said. Of course he will, she agreed. But his greed and his arrogance will outweigh his suspicion. He wants to keep as much of your money as he can. He wants to silence you permanently with an NDA. The chance to achieve both of those things by simply handing over a recording he thinks is his ace in the hole will be too tempting to resist. He will believe he is outsmarting you one last time. Saturday arrived. I dressed carefully, not in a power suit, in a simple pair of jeans and a plain sweater. I wanted to look unassuming, defeated. As I drove to their house, my hands were sweating on the steering wheel. Every instinct was screaming at me to turn back, to just let the lawyers handle it. But I knew I had to do this myself. I had to look them in the eye. I rang the doorbell. Carol answered, her face a mask of polite disdain. Come in, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. I walked into the living room. It was the same room where we had celebrated their anniversary just a few months ago. Liam and his father, Bill, were sitting on the couch. They both stood up when I entered. Liam looked pale and thinner. He had the decency to look ashamed. Bill just looked impatient. Thank you for coming, Bill said, gesturing to an armchair opposite them. Let's make this quick. I sat down. I placed my hands in my lap to stop them from shaking. I felt like a lamb in a den of wolves. As I said in my email, I began, my voice rehearsed and steady. I'd like to discuss the money from our joint savings account, the down payment for the house. Liam flinched at the mention of the house. Yes, the loan, Carol said, sitting next to him. She placed a proprietary hand on his shoulder. Liam has already explained the situation. It was a temporary measure to help his brother. I understand, I said, my voice soft. This was the hardest part, acting like I believed their lies. But since we are no longer getting married, I believe it's fair that my half of that fund be returned to me. Bill let out a sigh, as if I were being unreasonable. The money has already been invested in Mark's business, he said. It's not liquid right now. It will take time to recoup. Mark's business is doing wonderfully, thanks to Liam's help. Carol added quickly. It was a very shrewd investment. You'll get your money back eventually, with a handsome profit. They were trying to push me off, to placate me with vague promises of future returns. This was the moment Ms. Albright had prepared me for. I'm not looking for a profit, I said quietly. I'm just looking to move on with my life. I'm willing to be flexible on the exact amount. I understand that Mark's business needs the capital. This surprised them. I could see it in their eyes. They had expected me to demand every penny back immediately. Liam leaned forward. What do you mean, flexible? He asked. His voice was hopeful. He saw an opportunity to get out of this for cheap. I'm willing to accept a smaller amount, I said. Let's say a quarter of the total fund, as a final settlement, and I'll sign whatever paperwork you need to ensure this is the end of the matter. Carol and Bill exchanged a look. They were practically salivating. They could not believe their luck. They were going to get away with stealing my money for pennies on the dollar. But, I added, letting the word hang in the air, I need something in return. A gesture of good faith. What is it? Bill asked. His eyes narrowed with suspicion. I turned my attention to Liam. I looked him directly in the eye. I know you recorded your conversation with Chloe, I said. The color drained from Liam's face. Carol gasped. Bill's eyes widened. They were not expecting this. I don't know what you're talking about, Liam stammered. Please don't lie, Liam, I said, my voice still gentle. It doesn't matter anymore. Look, I'm worried about you. Chloe is angry. She's hurt. I'm afraid she might try to use that conversation to cause problems for you. I don't want that. I want this to be over for everyone. So, here's my offer. You give me the recording. I'll destroy it myself. In return, I'll accept the smaller settlement and I'll sign a legally binding non-disclosure agreement. Chloe will never be able to use it against you. No one will. You'll be protected. I watched them process my offer. I could almost see the gears turning in their heads. Bill was suspicious. He was the smart one. But Carol and Liam were driven by greed and arrogance. Why would you do that? Carol asked. Her eyes narrowed. Why would you protect him from your own sister? Because I'm tired, I said, letting a note of weary resignation enter my voice. I'm tired of the drama. I'm tired of the fighting. Chloe has been difficult since this all happened. She's been pushing me to sue you, to go to the police. I think she feels guilty and she's overcompensating. Frankly, our relationship is strained. I just want to be done with all of it. With her, with you, with everything. I was painting a picture of a family torn apart. Me against Chloe. It was a plausible story. It was exactly what Liam had tried to engineer. He would believe it because he wanted to believe it. It fit his narrative that he could manipulate everyone around him. Liam looked at his father. Bill was still frowning, deep in thought. But Carol was nodding slowly. She saw the beauty of the deal. They get to keep most of the money, and they get a legal document that gags me for life. The recording was a small price to pay. And you'll sign an NDA? Bill asked, his voice sharp. Airtight, I promised. You can have your lawyer draft it. I'll sign it as soon as I have the recording in my hand. Liam looked from his mother to his father. He was looking for permission. Carol gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. Bill, after a long moment, sighed and leaned back, a sign of reluctant agreement. The greed had won. Okay, Liam said, his voice shaky. Okay, it's a deal. The recording is on a flash drive, he said. He got up and went to a desk in the corner of the room. He unlocked a drawer and pulled out a small silver flash drive. He held it in his hand, hesitating for a moment. This was his insurance policy. He was about to hand it over. Let me see it, I said. My heart was hammering against my ribs, but my voice was calm. He walked over and handed it to me. It felt heavy in my palm. The key to everything. I don't have a laptop with me, I said, thinking on my feet. How do I know the file is on there? It's there, he said defensively. It's the only file on the drive. It's labeled insurance. Of course it was. The arrogance was breathtaking. Okay, I said. I stood up. I put the flash drive in my pocket. Have your lawyer send the NDA to my lawyer, Ms. Albright. Once she approves it and I have confirmed the contents of this drive, I will sign. And you can wire the settlement amount. I had changed the terms slightly. I was not going to sign anything until my lawyer had seen it and I had verified the recording. They were so giddy with their perceived victory that they did not even notice. Fine, Bill said, standing up. He just wanted me gone. I walked to the door. I did not run. I walked calmly and deliberately. I could feel their eyes on my back. They thought they had just won. They thought they had just bought my silence and my future for a fraction of its worth. I got into my car. I locked the doors. And only then did I let out the breath I had been holding. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely put the key in the ignition. I had done it. I had walked into the lion's den and walked out with their teeth. I drove straight to Ms. Albright's office. It was a Saturday, but she had told me to call her the second I left. I met her at the empty office building and we rode the elevator up in silence. "Did you get it?" she asked as soon as the door to her office closed. I pulled the silver flash drive from my pocket and placed it on her desk. "He called it insurance," I said. She let out a low whistle. "The hubris," she murmured. She plugged the drive into her computer. A single audio file appeared on the screen. She clicked on it. The sound of Liam's voice filled the room. It was tinny and distorted, but it was unmistakably him. "So you see, it's the perfect plan," he was saying. "She'll be mad about the house money, but you just have to calm her down. Tell her I'm a good guy. Tell her it's for family." Then I heard Chloe's voice, laced with disbelief. "You want me to lie to my own sister?" "I want you to help her see the big picture." Liam's voice corrected smoothly. "And I'll make it worth your while. Once I have access to everything, after the wedding, I can peel off a nice little thank you for you. Let's say 50,000 for your troubles." There was a choked sound from Chloe's side of the recording. "You're trying to bribe me with my sister's money?" "It's not a bribe," Liam said, his voice condescending. "It's a finder's fee for helping me find a solution to my brother's problem. Look, don't be so naive, Chloe. It's a lot of money. More than you make in a year. Just think about it." Then came the most damning part. I heard another voice in the background, muffled, but there. It was Mark. "Is she going for it?" he asked. "Hang on," Liam said. Then to Chloe. "By the way, just so we're all clear, this conversation is being recorded for my protection. If you try to run to her and blow this all up, I'll make it sound like this was all your idea. Who do you think she'll believe? Me, the man she loves? Or you, the jealous older sister? Don't be stupid, Chloe." Ms. Albright stopped the recording. The silence in the room was deafening. It was all there. The premeditated theft, the bribe, the conspiracy with his brother, the blackmail. It was a complete confession. "We have them," Ms. Albright said, a grim smile on her face. "We have them cold." "So what now?" I asked. "Do we send this to the police?" "Oh, no," she said. "That would be too simple. A criminal case could take years, and the burden of proof is high. No, we are going to use this for a much more immediate and much more satisfying purpose." "What are you planning?" I asked. "They wanted a private settlement," she said, her eyes gleaming. "We're going to give them one, but it's not going to be the one they were expecting." She picked up her phone. "I'm calling their lawyer right now to tell him we have received the item of goodwill and that we are prepared to discuss the final terms of the NDA, but we will not be signing their draft. We will be providing our own." The next few days were a whirlwind of legal maneuvering. Ms. Albright drafted our version of the settlement agreement. It was not a simple non-disclosure agreement. It was a comprehensive confession and repayment plan. It stipulated that Liam, Mark, and Carol would jointly and severally repay the entire amount of money taken from both my joint and my personal accounts. The total was staggering when I saw it written down. The agreement stated that the repayment was not a loan, but restitution for funds improperly and deceitfully misappropriated. It included a clause where they acknowledged the authenticity of the recording and admitted that it represented a conspiracy to defraud me and blackmail Chloe. And it included a penalty clause. For every day the full amount was not returned to my account, an additional $1,000 in interest would be added to the principal. Finally, it contained a section titled Public Apology. It required Carol to send a personal, written apology to a list of 50 key family members and friends from both sides of the family. The text of the apology was pre-written by Ms. Albright. It detailed that her previous statements about me being unstable were false and were part of a deliberate attempt to cover up her son's actions. It forced her to admit, in her own name, that Liam was a thief and that she had supported his lies. "They will never sign this," I said, reading the document in disbelief. "This is a complete humiliation." "Oh, they'll sign it," Ms. Albright said confidently. "Because the alternative is that this flash drive gets sent to the district attorney's office. A document like this, a civil settlement, is something they can potentially bury. A criminal indictment for fraud, conspiracy, and extortion is a public record. It will destroy Mark's business permanently. It could mean jail time for Liam, and it will make them pariahs in their community in a way that even a private apology can't." She sent the agreement to their lawyer. The response was almost immediate. Their lawyer called, sputtering with outrage. He called the agreement extortion and blackmail. Ms. Albright was calm. "Is it extortion, or is it a generous offer to avoid felony charges for your clients?" she asked him coolly. "Your clients conspired to commit fraud. They admitted it on tape, a tape they willingly handed over. I would advise you to have them read the agreement very, very carefully. They have 24 hours to sign it and return it, along with a cashier's check for the full amount. After that, the offer is withdrawn, and my client will be pursuing all available legal remedies, both civil and criminal." She hung up the phone. "Now, we wait," she said. The next 24 hours were agonizing. I stayed with Chloe at her apartment. We barely spoke. We just sat, watching the clock. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart leaped into my throat. What if they called our bluff? What if they decided to take their chances in court? Liam was arrogant enough to believe he could talk his way out of anything. Carol was proud enough to choose ruin over humiliation. Then, with 2 hours to spare before the deadline, an email arrived in Ms. Albright's inbox. It was from their lawyer. "My clients have agreed to your terms," it read. "The signed agreement is attached. A courier is on his way to your office with the check." I burst into tears. Not tears of sadness. Tears of overwhelming, bone-deep relief. It was over. I had won. The next day, the money appeared in my account. The full amount. Every single penny. Seeing the balance restored felt surreal. It was not about the money itself. It was about what it represented. It was a tangible symbol of my victory. But the real satisfaction came a week later. My phone started ringing. It was my aunt. "I just got the strangest letter from Carol Hayes," she said, her voice a mix of confusion and indignation. "She's apologizing. She says she lied about you. She says Liam stole all your money. Is this true?" The calls kept coming all day. Friends of my parents, cousins, friends of mine who had ghosted me. They had all received Carol's letter of apology. The narrative she had so carefully crafted had been shattered by her own hand. The truth was out. And it was more damning than any rumor. I had a brief conversation with my father. He was a man of few words, but his pride was evident. "You handled that with strength and intelligence," he told me. "Your grandmother would be proud." That meant more to me than anything. My mother was just relieved. "I never want to see those people again," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "To think we almost let you marry into that family." The most important conversation was with Chloe. We sat in my apartment, the moving boxes now taped up and ready to go to a storage unit. I was starting fresh. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice quiet. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything from the very beginning." "You were trapped," I said, taking her hand. "He put you in an impossible situation. You still warned me. You saved me, Chloe. That's all that matters. You did the right thing, even when you were scared. That's the definition of courage." She squeezed my hand. The strain that had been between us was finally gone. Our bond was stronger than ever. Forged in the fire of betrayal and reaffirmed by loyalty. I never saw Liam again. I heard through the grapevine that Mark's business collapsed anyway. The sudden withdrawal of a huge amount of capital, combined with the rumors that started to fly after Carol's apology letter, was too much for it to survive. They had to sell their big house. Carol became a social recluse, too ashamed to face the people she had lied to. As for me, I moved to a new city. I got a new job. I built a new life, one that was entirely my own. I had learned a hard lesson. I learned that trust is fragile. I learned that some people will see kindness as a weakness to be exploited. But I also learned that I was stronger than I ever thought possible. I had faced down liars, thieves, and manipulators. I had been underestimated and dismissed. They thought I was a pawn in their game, but I had flipped the board over and taken all the pieces. They wanted to make me small. They wanted to own me. Instead, they taught me how to fight. And I would never forget that lesson. They finally learned what it feels like to lose everything. I, on the other hand, had just begun to find myself.